Hello everybody, this is Peter of England, a short video today continuing from the previous one in a way, and it's based on the Tommy Robinson scenario, only using that as a model, as a stalking horse reference, on the basis that if I was Tommy Robinson, what would I be looking to do? Now, today, if you look on the board behind me, you can see that I have circled something here, or I'm just about to circle it, and it's about BLM, and I know what you're all thinking, Black Lives Matter. But that is not the theme of today's video. It's to do with biological Leninism Matters. This video, or by the time you get to the end of it, and I sincerely hope that you watch it to the end, will have explained to you the craziness, the zealotry, the absolute stupidity of the world that you perceive outside yourself and which seems to become quite normal. And what I'm needing to cover is quite a few details today, but what I want you to remember as a generalization, it is the exceptions that are proving the rule. It's not when I refer to women or black people or people of the Muslim faith or pedophiles or sexual deviants or any of these what's called substrata groups that were typically socially fringe elements up until recent times. I'm not saying that all of these categories are bad, not that that would matter because you cannot defame a group, but what I'm saying is that the recruiting grounds for causing this political chaos have deep-seated fundamental roots that have been well proven in communist social environments. And so the target of the attack today is the left. It is the Democratic Party in the United States. It's Keir Starmer's government in the United Kingdom. And it's wherever socialism has reared or does rear its ugly head, because socialism is just a hacked form of communism. And even to the extent of the Antifa groups that go onto the street and protest against against fascism. That's the name, anti-fascist, referring to them as Nazis or swastika-bearing right-wing idiots. Don't forget, it was the party in Germany that Hitler founded and brought to power wasn't called the National Communist Party, it was called the National Socialist Party. So socialism in any of its forms is the problem, and so what we're looking today to do is address the way to annihilate the cause. So, as I've said, BLM stands for Biological Leninism Matters. And why this is important is that the groundwork for modern-day political systems that have been inculcated following their trials in Russia and in China form what is your political oversphere or world today. Now, why it's important is that Stalin, though a very evil individual, had a precursor. He had Lenin as his tutor. So within the Bolshevik small party that came to power around about 1918, don't forget Lenin died in 1924 and Stalin took on his legacy. And so what was required by the mechanics behind this political organization, which he built into a very amazingly successful organization, was done through party politics, and it was done through loyalty. Okay? So what we've got here is ego dynamics if there is such a thing, and something called status. Most individuals in society are craving and continually searching for approval. The ego wants constant reassurance and stroking that it is doing the right thing, it's belonging to the right organization, the right golf club, whatever it is. But above all, where it comes in is under a natural law, and natural law does exist, and this natural law within society is all to do with this up here, status. So everyone, virtually without exception, is seeking status, seeking elevation within society, either through their work or their political affiliations or their business or courtship rituals. And in addition to that, once they've got a particular status, they make sure they don't want to lose it. So that is the biggest thing that faces, should we say, the social normals, the social natural law within society. Now, what Stalin did on the back of Leninism, which was exceptionally efficient, because what you cannot deny is that from a small start in 1918, when the Bolsheviks came to power, to the might of the Soviet Union, whatever the Communist Party wanted to do, though it was maybe zany, maybe crazy, maybe economically unviable, they got it done. To the point that now we could rightfully claim that the Soviet Union and China, between them, actually are in major positions of seniority and power on the planet. This is no accident. So what we've got here is, how did Stalin and the Communist Party build this infrastructure, and how does it reflect today in an absolute, incontrovertible, factual example that the Democrats and the Trump administration, either sides of the aisle, the same for the politics in the United Kingdom and worldwide, how have they engineered what you see out there before you as this degenerate, deviant, societal, political picture that seems to be just working, yeah? Whatever they want to introduce, say from the World Economic Forum or the WHO or through the UN or through any political democratic seeming process, it seems to work. And why does it seem to work? Because the example that has been adopted worldwide is this socialism or social hack of what's called the social calculus model. And the social calculus model is status. Go for status. Why whitey, and I've put this here, why whitey is being typically excluded, and that is referring to the political agenda against the so-called privileged white male. Why that's come to the fore over the last, let's say particularly the last decade, is that whitey is generally dispensable. Whitey will get by because of either the Protestant work ethic or the fact that historically society tends to have come that way with a general, especially in the European or Northern Hemisphere, dominance of the white ethnic male structure. So we've got whitey who's dispensable. What Stalin, on the back of Leninism, on the back of Marxism, found highly successful is that if you wanted to create something loyal, and these communists did get things done, what you needed are friends. You needed people who either craved status or had status and didn't want to let it go once they'd got it. So what the protocol was, after 1918, up until the time of Lenin, who died in 24, and then Stalin took over, any enemy, and you must listen to this quite carefully, any enemy of Imperial Russia was fair game for inclusion in the Russian Communist Party form of government across the board. So, typically, whether it was pedophiles, whether it was sexual deviants, whether it was ethnic minorities, whether it was Ukrainians, Latvians, it didn't matter. Atheists, the whole gamut of deviancy or fringed societal groups was brought in for inclusion within the government to do things or control things or rule things. Why? Because typically society pushes these groups under this process of natural law to the ends of the rainbow or the ends of the societal structure, because they are deemed, and natural law has deemed this so, not me, over thousands and thousands of years of evolution, these groups or these predilections aren't generally wanted in society. Never have been and never have been wanted. So, what happened? The current political agenda, following on from Marxism, following on from Leninism, built up by Stalinism, brought us to today. Don't forget, Keir Starmer is a communist. Barack Obama was also a communist and a member of the Islamic faith. So we've got all of these. Not only that, he's a cokehead, Obama, and he is married to a man just the same as Macron is married to Jean-Michel Trogneux in the Élysée. So this is the form of deviancy that has spread completely through society. The more deviant you are, the more you will be given favor. Why? Because you will be loyal. Because of the general, and this is the exceptions as I warned about before, not to say everybody's like this, but generally they have a much lower set of moral values. Their moral compass is much more lower because of the attraction of this status and this power that they seek. Because don't forget, you've got, when you're brought into politics, you must, most people probably have very utopian ideas which seemingly get dissolved very, very quickly when the rules of the road are explained to them. Maybe people like Nigel Farage was well-intentioned when he set out, but the deeper he got his nose into the trough, someday someone, some puppet master or mandarin from Whitehall came and explained to him the rules of the road. And the rules of the road are, if you want to get on in the game, you follow our instructions, my friend, because we have been here for millennia. After all, we built this place. They make the rules. Down here, they make the threats, and down here, they are the gods. So if you don't play the game, you don't go anywhere. So you must grasp this, that this Luciferian overlay is millennia old. It goes back, way, way to the times of Atlantis and Lemuria, even before that. So what we also see is this phenomenon here. This, I'll take some of this off in a moment. What we've also got here is this woman problem. Yes, so before everybody comes out there and starts declaring me the new Tate not of the Tate Gallery, but of the Tate brothers, that I'm a misogynist and I'm preaching machoism at the bequest of, I don't know, some strange agenda. What you've got to look at is since the 1980s, women have become everywhere at once. Beginning with the Second World War, when the women were put from the home and put onto the land and put into factories, that's when you could say it may probably have started around 1940. But 1980s, it shifted up a gear when the new politic, the new neocon agenda started to be rolled out in all seriousness. And so what we get is included into our list, which I've mentioned before. I'll just make a... So we've got the societal misfits, and those are the deviant, transsexual, homosexual, pedophile, ethnic group, displaced, cults of any kind, groups of any kind who want to get on in the politic. And typically, for example, the Jewish political cabal or coterie has controlled everything, to the expense, maybe the Muslim Brotherhood might say. So in their striving, they became a group that needed to be cultivated. And so we have the Islamification of society, which is totally ludicrous in countries that the predominant religions are Christian. Ask yourself why. Well, these groups and the immigration boatloads that come into the United Kingdom from France, they're all coming in on the basis of loyalty. They're promised status. They're promised a new land. They're promised a new Jerusalem. And so what you get then is the mullahs and the imams, the trade union leaders of all nations or all countries, the clerics in the Catholic Church. No coincidence that that has massive pedophile, homosexual overtones with every type of depravity known to man and not known running as an undercurrent within the clergy. So do you think that's a coincidence that these groups all get promoted and brought through? So I haven't finalized on this yet, but the women brought in to politics are generally, as you've seen them, I would describe them as, I wouldn't use the word useless. What I would do is I would put before useless, fucking useless. So that's the perspective. These women, generally, I wouldn't even trust them to wash a tea towel, let alone run a country or run the IMF, like Christine Lagarde, like van der Leyen, like Theresa May. Let's go through some of them. Meloni in Italy, she can hardly say 5 words. You've got Merkel, who ruled Germany for, God knows, 16 years. You've got Ursula von der Leyen now, I think she's the president of the European Union. In the UK, you've got the leader of the Conservatives, a black, ethnic woman, not the prettiest creature on God's earth, Badenoch. You had before then, was she the Home Secretary or I can't remember, Foreign Secretary? Suella Braverman. You had Theresa May, looking like the back end of a cow. You had Rachel Reeves, I've mentioned Christine Lagarde. In Germany, you've got Faeser, Baerbock. You've even got, though I have mixed feelings on this one in a positive way, Alice Weidel, leader of the Alternative for Deutschland. She is a lesbian, married to a Sri Lankan lesbian living in Switzerland. And you've also got, in the Élysée Palace, not forgetting, the most beautiful woman in Europe, Jean-Michel Trogneux, also known as the tranny in the palace, married to the cokehead, Mr. Macron. So what we have within this grouping is an over-preponderance. Don't you see it? In New Zealand, you had the tranny in power at the time of COVID, Jacinda Ardern. You've got the cokehead in Canada, Trudeau. You've got the cokeheads, the pair of them that were in the White House for 8 years, Big Mike, married to the coke-snorting homosexual Barack Obama, who not only was not born in the United States, but he's also a Muslim, and he's also gay. But not that I've got a problem with gays, of course. So what we've got then in the United States, look at all this lovely bunch of misfits and degenerates. And the problem is, they're so fucking useless that nobody wants them. They're usually fat, they're ugly, a waste of time, and if the government didn't want them, who would want them? Yeah? And the criteria for all of this is the low moral compass. I'm not saying that women have got any lower moral compass than men, but typically the rules of the game, of the road, have generally been historically a patriarchal, male-dominated environment. And as the women have come into it, then certain social engineering parameters have been locked in because the people doing the social engineering, the people like the Stalins and the Lenins and the Starmers that are happy to go along with these rules of the road, fully realize that a woman's loyalty, once locked in, is probably greater than a man's. A woman puts family first, puts the children first, no matter what the children do. She looks at them as little angels, whereas a husband or a man is a lot less likely to forgive what he perceives as shortcomings in his sons or daughters. So these points are part of this natural law that is a fundamental bedrock on which this deception has been based. So this biological Leninism has come out of the mixing machine since 1924, I'd say, when Lenin died, Stalin took over. And do not forget for one moment, which I mentioned before, that Stalin recruited every type of deviant into society, into the government, into the Communist Party, which provided them with everything and protected them from anything and everything. And at the same time, we talk about the 6 million Jews supposedly killed in the Holocaust, but where do we make reference to the 60 million white men, women, who were slaughtered by Stalin from 1924 up until the time of his demise? 60 million, 10 times. So if there is a non-species agenda here, and if we don't practice racism, then 6 million Jews killed in the Second World War. Wow, what an atrocity. But why aren't we talking about it? Why does nobody cover it? The only people who make mention to it are people like Alexander Solzhenitsyn, or the dissident factions that went through these periods. Yeah? So the history, the media, everything that's getting projected onto you is a result of particularly evil geniuses that came out through 1924 and came in through into the Second World War and the implications that came out of that. So I've covered quite a lot. I've just mentioned now this women problem. And I know there'll be probably a lot of shills and trolls coming onto the site, the channel, saying, oh, well, no, you can't generalize and you can't say that. This is actually factually correct because this is typically how natural law has progressed. So I'll just go through some of these characters in the United States, for example. Invariably from minority groups, invariably loyal to the party, and the great measure within all of this is the more loyal you are, the more crazier the proposition from the party can be. So, whether it's global warming, whether it's windmills, whether it's solar panels to solve the electricity problem, whether it's the COVID scenario, whether it's the wearing of a mask or whether it's the electric car nonsense, 15-minute cities, don't eat meat anymore, we'll make it in a laboratory, that mankind, the aerosols are causing the CO2 problems, etc., etc. The more zany, the more unproven, the more you support these things, the greater the loyalty has to be. So, don't forget, it comes at a price. And so, once you've bought or taken the king's shilling, you're in it until the end. And invariably, as I've said, the comfort levels are not based around any type of meritocracy. It doesn't exist. With the Feinsteins, with the Pelosi's, with the van der Leyen, with the Christine Lagarde, with the Suella Bravermans, with the Theresa Mays, the Reeves, etc., etc. It's all about how much are you prepared to take? How much are you prepared to allow us to put into your bank account is the measure of the degree to which you will ascend. The more evil, the more corrupt, the more you are compromised, the more you are blooded and in. There's nowhere to go because the party controls everything. So that's the crux of what I'm saying here. We have this, this scenario that's running. So biological Leninism matters. It sure does. So this could be the new BLM saga or logo that we're spouting. So what did I say? I made some notes here about, just so I didn't forget, about these female politicians who are doing such a great job sticking their noses in places where it shouldn't be stuck. Loretta Lynch, yeah, as a legal position. AOC in the United States. She is, I think, a Mexican origin. Mad Maxine Waters. My God, I mean, how does someone like that even get a job in a 7-Eleven, not working as a parliamentarian? Nancy Pelosi, Ilhan Omar, isn't she Eritrean or something like that? I'm not sure. Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, so-called Native American Indian, half white, half black, what do you call it, cafe creme woman. Dianne Feinstein, Madeleine Albright, ugly, horrible women causing trouble. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Rachel Maddow, on and on it can go. I've done the European contingent. In the UK, moving to the male contingencies. All of these people being brought into the UK. Why is it that we have such a preponderance of ethnic people running the bloody country? Is it a coincidence? No, it's out of all proportion with the statistical likelihood of them being meritoriously capable of doing it. Why do we have Sadiq Khan continuing as a mayor of London? He's a Pakistani. He's an Islamist. What's that doing? I mean, can you imagine for one moment going to India and having a Japanese or an English person running the government? Can you imagine going to China and having a Dutchman in charge of the country? Nowhere in the world could that happen. But in the UK, it's happening with people like Rishi Sunak, first generation born in the UK Indian. Just because you're born in a stable doesn't make you a donkey. Just because he was born in the UK doesn't make him British, doesn't make him English, doesn't make him knowledgeable of the ways and the traditions of the people of that particular country. That's why when you look anywhere, you don't get South Koreans running North Korea. You don't get Japanese in Korea running the country. Generally speaking, it is the ethnic majority of the country that rule it. Same in Switzerland. But in the United Kingdom, we have got I think he's the Prime Minister or the President of Wales. We had the first, I think, Pakistani or Muslim guy there. We had the same for the SNP in Scotland. We have it all over the place. We've got Lamy, which is the Foreign Secretary, black guy in the UK politics. We had Rishi Sunak, Sadiq Khan. We've had the same in, I said, Wales and Scotland. We've got in the United States, we had Obama, Big Mike. We've got this agenda now right the way through in the military of equality and trans rights for everyone, this LGBTQ phenomena. Europe, Canada, Trudeau, Zelensky, we've mentioned him, homosexual cokehead, trying to run the country. So loyalty is the key, and that's what's brought all of these in. Socialism is leftism. It's a no-brainer. No brain required. And what you must remember, finally, in conclusion, not my political theory, though I'm well suited to speak of it because I started out at university studying British government and political theory before moving on to law. So I would say I'm very well qualified to talk about these things, whether it's communism, socialism, other political regimes, and the Constitution of the United Kingdom to boot. What we have is we have a complete anathema, a no-brain scenario that's come out of this, just this societal engineering. And so what we've got to have is we've got to have a recalculation of it, and we've got to have you waking up to how it's actually that it hasn't come about by chance. It's actually been engineered, it's been proven to work, and that's why the lowest common denominators are brought in. It's a no-brainer, and I am not alone on this, because if we turn to the work of Friedrich Hayek, The Road to Serfdom, he explains quite eloquently, with many, many examples, that typically in politics, why the lowest common denominator of moral value is required, especially with anything related to socialism, communism, and the groupthink of these regimes, is that by definition, they don't want creativity, they don't want individuality, they don't want new ideas, and they don't want anything that challenges the party line. Therefore, by definition, there is usually one dictator, and life shows, and society and natural law shows that to be the case, whether it's Stalin or Lenin or Pol Pot or Idi Amin or any of these other so-called dictators, Kim Jong-un. What we have then is a scenario where the political class that gravitates around the center has to obey orders. It's a dictatorship. It's not like, let's put all our hands up and have a vote. This is the society that you're in now. When they say pandemic, it's a pandemic. When they say masks, it's masks. When they say drive an electric car or live in a 15-minute city, that's what you do. The loyalty gets rewarded, but there always comes a nasty time when things have to be done that normal people normally wouldn't want to do. And that's cover up things, cover up leaks, whether it's the Epstein thing, whether it's the JFK thing, whether it's the big pharma with COVID, it doesn't matter. You've got to now start lying for the paycheck. And those type of people that crave and covet status, they want the titles, they want the sirs or the OBEs or the Knights of the Garter, whatever it is they want social recognition, and above all else, they don't want to get crucified in losing it once they've got it, because some type of dirt gets gently fed into the media to undermine them. If they play ball, it doesn't matter what. Look at van der Leyen. Look at people like van der Leyen, found guilty on various technicalities. Christine Lagarde got fined by the French tribunals for whatever it was. Implication? Nothing. They carry on. So what those are check marks on the leash. Stay in line and you can continue. We can protect you from anything. We protect you. We are the party. Stick with the party. We will protect, look after, and love you. And that's why we get a preponderance of weirdos, misfits, deviants, homosexual, transsexuals, who are all very, very ego-minded, very, very fragile. The slightest look, the slightest comment about their hair or their nails or the right type of rainbow-colored flag they're wearing sends them into a spin down. And if you look on the battle lines for the demonstrations, you will see without exception that all of these people, especially the women on the front line, they look like they were the devil's own creation. They don't look like they should actually be down on the planet, because they are ugly, unfit for purpose, and therefore angry and violent, ego-based, status-looking creatures that nobody wants. Okay? Therefore, they turn to the frontline places where they're welcomed because they're herded there. There's groups of them there. They love it there. So, I think I've covered everything. I've covered the situation with the insecurity and the downtrodden nature of the Muslim groups, why the ethnics are also included into government, why ethnics are being brought into the United States from many, many other countries, because they'll worship and be obeisant or obedient and loyal to the hand that's protecting them. And they're looking for status. The problem always with the ethnic, though, you have to be very careful. Not only do they want status, but eventually they want independence. And that doesn't go down well with a dictator who's already taken possession of their land. So Yeah, we look at, I missed a couple of things here. Like, what's his name? The guy in the United States, Feinstein, the senator. The guy could hardly put 3 words together, but he was successfully elected. He had a stroke, he was depressed, all sorts of problems. No, not Feinstein. His name wasn't Feinstein. What was his name? Yeah, it might have been Feinstein. No, that's Dianne Feinstein. Yeah, forgot what his name was. Maybe I didn't write it down. Just bear with me. Fetterman, that was it. The Fetterman guy, yeah? Incredible. So anyway, I've covered everything. I hope this clarifies somewhat the scenario that you're in. With this alone, it explains everything about the crazy, stupid, manic world in which you currently live. And therefore, if I was Tommy Robinson, what I would be doing is, I would be broadcasting some of this. Don't forget, all you need to do is, from now on, use the BLM model, but it's that BLM. Biological Leninism Matters. It matters because they've placed it like a lead blanket on the world and over you. And as Peter Beta, who was the head of the World Bank representative for the United States, was saying in the 1960s, the overall plan is communism. That's where it's going. It's in Korea, it's in Singapore, it's in Russia, it's in China, it's in the United States, it's in the UK. It's there now. It's breathing, living under your feet. And apart from dotting the I's and crossing the T's, it's already there. So now you know how they got it in. You know where the plans came from. And it has been put together by think tanks and groups like the Trilateral Commission, Council of Rome, etc. And so it's all been well planned, all well put together, and it's growing under your feet as you sleep. So if you like the video, don't do anything. Just keep it amongst you, because then we can talk about it in private, because I would not want this to get out anywhere, especially on something like YouTube. So keep it to yourself. Do not press the like button. Do not do any of that subscribing nonsense. It's not required. Don't do it. But if I was Tommy, I would be bringing some of this stuff out, because for his campaign, it puts it very much in perspective why these downtrodden, though religiously powerful groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, or like the Islamics generally in the UK, are being pushed into these positions, and why they feel great because they've been given status. Status, 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 more, 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 more. And that's the fuel pumping this merry-go-round. Peter of England saying, thank you for watching.